Developments this morning in Afghanistan. Another U.S. service member is dead, killed in a roadside bomb attack in southern Afghanistan. This is the deadliest month, in fact, for U.S. troops there since operations began in 2001. President Obama was at Dover Air Force Base overnight to honor fallen troops from Afghanistan. The bodies of 18 Americans killed in the country came home. That includes the 3 DEA agents who died in a helicopter crash on Monday. President Obama expected to meet with the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the White House tomorrow. The president is getting their input now on the possible new strategy for Afghanistan. That plan could include as many as 40,000 new troops. California Representative Duncan D. Hunter served 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan as a Marine. Pennsylvania Representative Joe Sestak is a former 3-star admiral who led operations both in Afghanistan and in Iraq. He is now planning a run for the Senate. We appreciate both of you being here. We appreciate your service as well. Thanks for joining us today. Let me get to this with you, Congressman Hunter. As we said, you served as a Marine in Afghanistan. You think President Obama needs to definitely send more troops. What are your ideas on how many and when?
Well, you know, first off, we're just congressmen. We were in the military, but it's not our job to be saying what we should be doing tactically. That's General McChrystal's job. That's why the president put him there. That's why he's there. He is arguably the foremost expert on Afghanistan in the entire military. Literally, he is arguably the smartest guy.
Don't you just take his recommendations and go?
Yeah, absolutely. Take his recommendation. If you want to win, if you want to do what the administration talked about earlier this year, if Afghanistan is the central front for the war on terror and we want to win there and we can win there, then let's do what it takes to win, and that's follow General McChrystal's recommendations. And, you know, 40,000 troops, that's his medium number. I think that there's higher numbers in his findings. 40,000 is what we're all talking about, but that's the minimum.
Right, right. Well, Representative Sestak, it's obviously a good point. There's a lot to talk about with letting generals run wars and giving them what they need. But you don't think it's as easy as that, correct?
No, you know, I was on the ground in Afghanistan early in the war, but I was also very fortunate to have worked in the White House for President Clinton as Director of Defense Policy. I do think a president, a commander-in-chief, has to look at not just what his general tells him for Afghanistan, but he has to look at the whole of the national security fabric. For example, over the last 4.5 years, we cannot meet any other op plan or war plan in our arsenal of war plans because our Army is in such a state of poor readiness. Now, he has to take that and other elements into consideration, and he should. I liked his different approach, but I do believe we should come to closure, and I am supportive of a measured increase, but I'm supportive of a measured increase for one goal: the eradication of the al-Qaeda safe haven in Pakistan. There's no more al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We need to ensure we also have benchmarks to measure success or failure that can trigger an exit strategy or an alternative strategy if the cost becomes more than the benefit. And we have to measure that. Leaving behind a society that, if we had not gone to that tragic misadventure in Iraq, we could have secured this place by now, but one that is opposed to the reentry of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We can't nation build now. It's gone too far south. It's not worth the cost. But I support of a measured increase because I think the general does have the right approach of a counterinsurgency that we can eradicate those who plan against us and did for 9/11.
Well, obviously there will be people who disagree with you about Iraq until, you know, the sun sets. But I think some of the questions today, and with the point that we are at with the Afghanistan war, certainly circle around September 11th. Representative Hunter, what do you say to the people who say this Afghanistan war is not winnable?
Well, it is winnable because, one, you know, people like to use what I've heard called as the graveyard of analogies, and that's Russia couldn't do it, Alexander the Great couldn't do it, the Brits couldn't do it. How can we win in Afghanistan? One, we are not occupiers. We are liberators over there, and for us to stabilize Pakistan, to make sure that Afghanistan is not a safe haven for those who would destabilize a nuclear Pakistan, it's a very strategic place, I think, in the international role for national security. You have Iran to the west, you know, former satellite states north. You have China there to the northeast. It's extremely important that we stabilize Afghanistan so as not to destabilize Pakistan. I mean, it is winnable. if we don't win there, it's going to become a petri dish for Al-Qaeda and other terrorists. And I don't like to be one of these folks who always say, you know, watch out for another 9/11. But that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, you know, an actual place where you are going to have people training to have another 9/11. And I mean, that's a very real scenario, very serious. It is winnable. We just have to give, and we talk about an incremental troop increase. I don't think incrementalism is a way to go. I think Vietnam taught us that. Iraq taught us that. If we're going to win, let's win big. Let's surge. Let's do it. Get it done. The more people we get over there, the faster that we can win this thing, the faster we're going to be coming home.
It's a good question, and this has to be the last word. Forgive me, Representative Sestak, but how much time do we have to make this decision? We're on the 6th meeting for the president with military commanders tomorrow.
I think strongly that the president has to come to closure here within this week. It is time. I think he's had the information. You notice today that what he's doing is focusing upon local entities, a new study by Friday that will say we can't rely upon a corrupt central government. That's not a partner. It really will be the warlords. And remember, there's only 20,000 Taliban that are in Afghanistan. This isn't like Russia. Russia killed 1 million Afghanis. They dislocated from their homes 5 million. It gave rise to an insurrection of 250,000. 70% of those 20,000 Taliban are there for a wage, not ideology. We have an opportunity here. It's not a large window, and I think we need, after having due deliberation, and I think he's done it well. I want my commander-in-chief, before he places our men and women in harm's way more, to think it through, and other things that are attendant throughout the world. But now's the time, I think, that we can eliminate Al-Qaeda and have a place where the ideological, radical Islamists are not on hold.
All right, well, to the two of you, we certainly appreciate the discussion. We'd like seeing you sitting next to each other as well from the Republican side of things and Democrat side of things. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Representative Duncan D. Hunter and Representative Joe Sestak. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Very good.